Well, we are back in the news with Echo. And what are we talking about regarding Echo? Well, of course, we're talking about the fact that the newly crowned Queenpin, because, that's a phrase and unfortunately is a real thing now, no matter how terrible it is. But the newly crowned Queenpin has destroyed Kingpin so much to the point where the actor who plays Kingpin, Vincent himself, has to come out and essentially defend Echo and what the writers decided to do with his character. I don't blame him necessarily for doing this because, listen, they all do it, right? Of course, you're going to defend the character you're playing. Of course, you're going to defend the story choices that were made by the writers and whatnot. I get that. But let's be real. Nobody is excited about what happened to Kingpin. Kingpin got unbelievably cucked in Echo. It is not even funny. It's really not at the end of the day, man. Kingpin was such a badass character, was such a absolute menace to society. The man is just so intimidating, and Vincent plays him so damn well, which makes this even worse to talk about. And yet Echo just cucked him with her ancestors. That's basically it. Like, she summoned her ancestors, got the Choctaw all together and said, we're gonna ruin the white man, because that's basically what this show's about. So let's get into this article, guys, from Bounding Into Comics. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing to my manga channel. The links are in the description box below. I would love to see you there. So the headline reads, Marvel's Echo star Vincent offers his take on Kingpin's ending in Disney Plus series and says, I don't think he's changed. I just think that he's enlightened. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the crying like a baby Kingpin at the end of Echo is definitely not a changed Kingpin. No, absolutely not. He's just an enlightened Kingpin. He's enlightened after all his trauma went away because Echo saved I can't even, like, when I read this stuff, I can't even imagine how bad it must have been to watch this show. I'm so glad I don't watch this nonsense anymore, but just reading about it and seeing some of the clips that I've seen go around on social media, my God, the people who actually sit down and give these people their times out of their lives to watch this nonsense, I feel bad for them, man. I really, really do. And I know there's fans out there of this stuff that actually like it. That's fine. But I know that the majority of people who watch it are just people who are either YouTubers hate watching it, or in general people who are just holding on to that little bit of hope that things are going to go back to how they were, and they never are. It says, while most fans walked away from the season finale of Marvel's Echo utterly disappointed with how the Disney Plus series reduced Wilson Fisk to nothing more than a literal blubbering mass, the character's actor Vincent, whether through his own honest opinion or at the direction of his employers, which is probably the second one, has posited that rather than the Kingpin's breakdown being one of fear, it was rather one of enlightenment. Yeah, sure, absolutely. There is some irony to that statement. There really is, and I'll get into it after I read the next section, but it really is just so stupid, man. Like, it's obvious that Kingpin was meant to look as weak as possible to Echo. They used Kingpin to bolster up Echo. That's all they did, okay? And they always do this with their male characters. They've been doing this for years now, and there's nothing that's ever going to change about that. It's only going to get worse. There's a reason why the MCU is a thing. There's a reason why the Echo actress literally signed to MCU. Like, this is why this stuff exists, because it's happening. You can ignore it all you want. You can pretend like it's not real, but it is happening, ladies and gentlemen. It is right in front of your eyes, and you can try to dance around it, Vincent, and I get it. Like I said earlier in the video, I understand you're going to defend your character. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's really what it's about. Like, she absolutely cucked Kingpin. She did. I'm sorry, she did. The writers did. This is just what it is, and you got to deal with it. It says, for those who have not seen Echo, you lucky dogs, you, well, I guess I'm lucky. The moment in question, unsurprisingly, comes at the conclusion of the series' fifth and final episode, Maya. Therein, after finding the titular heroine has rejected his offer to come back to New York and take over his criminal empire as its new, unbelievably cringy word called Queenpin, Fisk decides to teach his former protege a lesson by kidnapping and killing her grandmother and cousin. However, before he can make good on the latter half of his plan, he and his men are interrupted by Maya, herself newly empowered by the spirits of her female Choctaw ancestors, who proceeds to use her new abilities to wipe the floor with Fisk and his men. I can't, man. I can't. I really can't. Like, this whole thing with Echo, It really just is cringe. It's cringe. Like, there is no way you mean to tell me that Echo is more badass than Kingpin. It's just not a thing. I'm sorry. And you're literally trying to build up this brand new character in a story that's not even considered to be part of the MCU, and you're destroying Kingpin, who is considered part of the MCU technically, I believe anyway. He's supposed to be considered part of the MCU, especially with the new Daredevil series that's supposed to come out after it's done getting rewritten and reshot for the millionth time. He's going to be part of the MCU. So you're destroying his image just to bolster the image of a character that is not supposed to be part of the MCU. Like, make that shit make sense. It makes no sense. It says, eventually emerging victorious, Maya closes out the fight by bringing the Kingpin to his knees and hitting him with what could be best described as a Choctaw equivalent of Ghost Rider's penance stare, a channel blast of her mother's healing powers, which she uses to heal the emotional trauma he suffered due to his abusive childhood. Reduced to tears, which is amazing, Kingpin ultimately responds to his newfound mental state by screaming at Maya, "What did you do?" before immediately, and this is not an exaggeration, the scene literally cuts from his screaming to this moment, running into his nearby vehicle and demanding through more sobbing that his men immediately take him away from the situation. Imagine someone as big as Kingpin, okay? And again, the Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't really showcase Kingpin's size that great. Like, yeah, he's huge, but he's nowhere near as huge as he is in the comics. But just imagine someone as huge as Kingpin, someone as intimidating as Kingpin, someone who runs all of New York like Kingpin, and that man running away crying like a bitch in his car and begging his men to take him away from the scene. Can you imagine how cringy that is? Like, how just pathetic they've made Kingpin look, and they do this all the time. Again, like I said, every single male character that has any sort of prominence, they have used those characters to bolster female variants in the MCU. They did it with Thor. They're doing it with Kingpin. They did it with Doctor Strange. They're gonna do it with Captain Marvel. Like, this whole thing is just so cringe, man. It says, making his return in the series post-credit scene, Fisk is ultimately seen returning to New York on his private jet, where after watching a news report regarding the city's upcoming mayor race, he finds himself inspired to run for a local office. Yet while all signs suggested that his character had walked away from this fight a changed, repentant, and even remorseful pile of internalized guilt, the aforementioned Vincent has opined that, at least in his opinion, this was not the case. When asked by the Hollywood Reporter's Brian Davids as to whether or not he thought Myers' powers somehow had a hand in the decision to run for mayor, the actor asserted, "No, I don't think that. I want to do the right thing here and say something that is true, but not too revealing." He continued, "I don't think he's changed. I think he's enlightened. I haven't seen a lot of episodes of Echo, so in my mind, after everything goes down with Maya, he gets on a plane, and the news is playing on the plane. It says New York is going to be booking for a new mayor soon, and as he's watching it, a light bulb goes on. So by the end of that flight, he decides, if I want to be all-powerful, this is what I'm going to do," concluded Vincent. "That's the most I can tell you." Listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. There's no way that I could take Kingpin seriously, at least not this version of Kingpin seriously, after what Echo did to him. She made him into such a joke that anybody looking at him, there's no way you'll be intimidated by the guy anymore. Sure, he can go beat up as many people as possible. He can go murder people as much as he wants. But at the end of the day, he ran away crying in his car to all of his men because of some girl made him cry. It's just it's so bad. I'm sorry. I can't stop laughing because I'm thinking in my mind the image of someone who I think is an amazing actor. I really love Vincent as an actor, and it's sad to see that he's getting cucked like this, because I feel like he could have made a fantastic Kingpin in the MCU if they just used him correctly. But of course, this is Disney. This is Marvel. They're never going to use him correctly. He is a white male. They're going to use him for their own advantage to bolster their females, and that's it. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.